My name is Sarah Green and I work for Forest Research, which is the research agency of the Forestry Commission, so it's a government organisation. And I'm a forest pathologist and I work with diagnosing and undertaking research on diseases. We also have a disease diagnostic advisory service, so I deal with a whole range of different disorders and diseases of trees, not only pathogens but also abiotic factors such as droughts and other forms of climate damage. So we're fairly broad. So the most recent problem that I've been working on is a new disease of juniper in Britain. It's a phytophthora disease called Phytophthora ostracedrae, and it came as a great surprise to us. Juniper, we had been looking at juniper for a while, but we're unable to diagnose the cause of the problem. So the disease I'm working on is Phytophthora ostracedrae, and it was first described in 2007 in Patagonia. So I actually had no idea that it existed. So when we undertook some research on juniper to find out the cause of dieback and then discovered that it was this Phytophthora, it did come as a great surprise. So no, we were completely unprepared. Since then, unfortunately, surveys have shown that it is in fact very widespread now on juniper in Britain. Unfortunately, this disease, Phytophthora ostracedrae of juniper, has come on the back of 5 other new diseases that we've had in Scotland since 2004. That most of them not even known to exist at all 10 years ago. So unfortunately, just because of the sheer numbers of diseases that have arisen, we are very much reactive. And it's hard to be proactive when you don't actually know the organism exists. And with tree diseases, once it is noticed, it's already too late. It's already actually established in the environment. So it becomes very hard to contain. So then you are really running on your wits, trying to find out as much information as you can in a small space of time, but at the same time trying to provide advice to stakeholders as to how, what should be done in terms of managing the outbreaks. It's very difficult, and it's very much at the moment very much a reactive process. But I think there are lots of lessons that we are learning as we go that could be applied to other situations. So I think we are in a situation where we could help other countries in terms of our experiences in managing and reacting to these diseases. I think the main issue for me is that we're working alone. The disease has been found in Patagonia, but not on juniper, in quite a different system. And I suppose one of my concerns is that we have no idea what the situation is with this pathogen in the rest of Europe, and that there's very much a lack of information there. But also, if it is found in Europe, then our experiences could be very useful. I think what we're doing, what we're finding, the way that we are reacting in terms of how to deal with the landowners of sites which are found to be infected, that this is all experiences which could be shared to other European countries. What we have in place at the moment is a programme of meetings every 6 months where all the stakeholders come together. So there's landowners, environmental groups, obviously research teams, plant health staff, where we discuss the latest information on the distribution of the disease, our research findings, and we are updating all the time our proposals and strategies for managing the disease. We know that the DNA of the pathogen is found in soil, sticking to the sheep's hoofs. We found that, but we don't know, we can't really provide clear guidance yet as to how you would then restrict, what restrictions you then put on livestock. What do we say to landowners? They cannot all be issued with statutory plant health notices where they limit access to the site, imposing biosecurity measures. You can't impose this, but you can maybe, I think the strategy now is to try and bring landowners on board by not imposing these requirements, but actually relying on their goodwill. So educating them as to how we think the pathogen could be spread, and asking them to do their bit to try and retain the pathogen, but not imposing it on them from a statutory standpoint. But these are all discussions and questions we're having right now. Last week, the ultimate aim is to try and limit the spread of the disease and mitigate the effects of the disease. I would say at the moment mitigation, yes, is a very key part of the strategy. We don't have the science to support the strategy, but we're just going on findings as and when we're doing the science as fast as we can, and I think our mitigation strategies will improve with time. In terms of resilience, that's quite a difficult one, especially with regard to this juniper disease. It's hard to build resilience into the juniper population. From my perspective, I think a European risk facility could be vital in disseminating information much more rapidly from one European country to another. So not only in terms of what are you dealing with right now, and what's arising, but also how have you dealt with the problem over the last few years and what lessons have you learned. So I see it as a facility that can help foster greater links, greater information sharing from one European country to another. And from my perspective, it would be very useful to know what's happening in another country. Could you possibly have this disease? Do you have this disease? And if so, how are you actually managing it? Or if you don't have it and you are at risk of a disease establishing, what lessons have we learned that can help you? The problem in science is that there's often a great time lag. There's a time lag between finding a disease, working on it, and actually publishing what you found. So I think it's trying to reduce the time lag by sharing information more rapidly.